Oh, round three in the A-League men's competition is done and dusted. Plenty of action, plenty of drama. As always, a rematch of the Australia Cup final. We had the first ever New Zealand derby and also a 7-goal thriller between Western Sydney Wanderers and Adelaide United. We are going to break down all 6 A-League men's games right here, right now. Thanks for tuning in, whether you're watching on YouTube or tuning in on the podcast platforms. And a quick apology straight at the top for anyone who was expecting this round recap a little bit earlier in the week. Obviously, we have been doing these on a Sunday evening. I've been a bit under the weather for the last few days, so this is coming in a little bit later. But we'll be resuming the Sunday evening streams coming up next week, of course. Let's go through the games one at a time, of course, as we always do. This stream might be a little bit shorter as well, so please bear that in mind. But let's kick off with Brisbane Roar, Sydney FC. 3-2 win to the Sky Blues. This was a really fun game to watch on Friday evening. The Sky Blues, who obviously were coming off that loss last week in that away game against Auckland FC. Very important game for Sydney FC, especially considering that they were missing some key players. First of all, we look at the likes of Joe Lolly and Douglas Costa, who were out. Corey Holman also missing. So this was a real test of Sydney FC's depth, and they certainly showed up and put in a fantastic performance here. Leo Senna, fantastic. Well, I mean, what a player. This guy's already looking just a few rounds into his A-League career. He is controlling that Sydney FC midfield so well. He's been dominating in just about every game they've played. He could well be one of the signings of the season. Anas Wahim, again, very lively. Patrick Klimala getting on the score sheet. And for Brisbane Roar as well, look, Raw, they struggled a bit in the first half. They couldn't really control the game. Great response in the second half, the way they came out and were much more sort of aggressive and a bit more adventurous. Tom Waddingham getting on the score sheet and assisting the second goal for Raphael Strike as well. As we look at the stats for this game, I mean, Brisbane Roar just 8 shots, 3 on target. Sydney FC, 14 shots, 6 on target, 68% possession. And especially that first half, really, it was all Sydney FC, I thought. The Sky Blues were pretty much well dominating that first half, and I thought that Sydney were going to run away with it. But for that second half, it really felt like it was going to be anyone's game. As we look at the goals, I mean, 51st minute, Klimala, 67th minute, Waddingham equalises. Leo Senna scores in the 71st minute, Strike scoring in the 78th minute. So back and forth, and then Kaczarski showing up with a fantastic goal. I mean, just a fantastic goal to sort of watch visually, just the way he took it first time, an unbelievable strike from Jady Kaczarski, and once again, showing up late to win it. Great to see Ailey get it in the live chat here. Says Kaczarski is the GOAT. Victory forever. Thanks for joining us. Oh, we're back. We're back. We just dropped out for a second there. Victory forever. Thanks for jumping in, saying Stroik is going to be great for Brisbane. He looked very lively coming off the bench, as he did in round one as well. So this is a guy with a lot of potential, and I think we're expecting big things from him, that's for sure. Certainly a player to keep an eye on. And especially with that striker position for Brisbane Roar, it's going to be interesting to see sort of what happens in that department, because we obviously know Waddingham sort of has that position locked down. Whether Strike sort of comes into play as another striker, Ben Halloran was sort of playing that central role alongside Waddingham. I'd love to see Strike come in there as well. Alligators asks an interesting question here. Is Caceres doing good enough at CDM, or does he need to be more attacking? I've always been of the opinion, ever since Caceres came through Central Coast Mariners over a decade ago, that Caceres' best position is as a number 10, as a playmaker in an attacking role, an attacking midfielder. He can totally play as one of those sixes, as he did in this game. I think it was just out of sort of necessity. Corey Holman was out for this game. So Caceres comes in, and I think it makes sense that Caceres jumps into that role, especially considering that Anas Wahine has been playing well in that number 10 role as well. Great to see everyone in the live chat here on short notice as well. Here on YouTube, Owen says, "Hey, Lockie, hope you're feeling well, mate." Thank you very much, Owen. If you're just tuning in as well on the live stream, a little bit late for our round recap this week. I was a bit under the weather. Plenty to talk about, though, from this round. So we've got 5 more games to talk about here. Next up, we are going to talk about the first ever New Zealand derby, a historic occasion for the league, for New Zealand as well. Wellington Phoenix, Auckland FC. This was a fun game to watch as well, man. I mean, very different to the Brisbane-Sydney game. It was a tight battle and obviously felt for a while there, especially as the second half was wearing on, that this was indeed destined for a scoreless draw. Two teams who were defensively very, very solid. But for me, it was Auckland FC who were looking the more likely pretty much from the get-go. They made a really bright start. Wellington Phoenix was struggling to play out from the back at times. We saw a couple occasions. And obviously that first goal came from Josh Oluwayemi getting caught out at the back there. A couple times, Auckland just really pressing Wellington, and they looked a little bit nervy playing out from the back there. But this Auckland team, man, we have to talk about them for a second, because this Auckland FC team, 3 games into their existence in the A-League, 3 wins, and they're yet to concede a goal. That is incredible for a team who has literally just been put together in recent months, and they are coming up against some of the best teams in the league. The win against Sydney last week was huge, and then a win here against a very good Wellington Phoenix side. I'm been so impressed with Auckland FC and really sort of excited to see what they offer for the rest of the season. Obviously, it's early days, and there's a lot of energy about this team and sort of enthusiasm and excitement. And we'll see where it goes from here. I mean, what a result for Auckland in their first ever derby. A great match, but for Wellington Phoenix, they'll be disappointed that they weren't really able to sort of dominate this game, create quality opportunities. The stats here on Google listing that Wellington Phoenix only managed to register 1 shot on target the whole game, compared to Auckland FC's 6 on target, 18 shots total for Auckland FC. Possession stats were pretty even in this game. They just look so, Auckland FC, I mean, they're so well balanced too. It's not that they've just been sort of, defending well and sort of catching goals on the counter-attack. They seem to be really strong in all departments. Defensively, very solid. That centre-back partnership of Hall, Pineacre, fantastic. Obviously, fullbacks and Sakai and De Vries have been superb as well. Midfield, those 2 guys, again, Gajegos and Vestrata, unbelievable players. I mean, fantastic scouting from Auckland FC to bring these guys in. Fantastic. And then up top, I mean, Guilherme May didn't get on the score sheet once again, but it's just a matter of time before he does score his first goal in the A-League. I thought Liam Gillian was fantastic as well. So, fantastic. Elizal, thanks for joining us in the live chat. Says, hot take, Auckland have the best squad in the league. Dude, I mean, in terms of the way they're performing and the way they're playing together as well, like the cohesion in this team, they're up there at the moment, like on current form. I mean, obviously they're sitting top of the table, but they have built a fantastic squad, and these players look absolutely fantastic. Great to see plenty of comments coming in here in the live chat. Thanks for joining us for this live round 3 recap. Auckland FC, though, what an occasion for New Zealand football overall, obviously, and very excited the fact that this we're going to get a rematch of this derby game in just about a month's time, early December. Auckland FC will be hosting the New Zealand derby for the first time. So Wellington Phoenix will be looking for revenge in that game. But what a match, what an entertaining watch. And Jake Brimmer, of course, it goes without saying. I mean, incredible the way he came on and turned the game at the end. Incredible. Let's talk about the rest of Saturday's games. Central Coast Mariners, 0. Perth Glory, 0. Did you like the Mariners game, Krasdog? Look, I will say, Krasdog, I know you're a Newcastle Jets fan. The Jets obviously had the bye this week, but there were, again, positive signs from this game. It's sort of been the same thing for the Mariners for the last few games now, and I guess the same thing we can echo about Mariners' game in the Asian Champions League Elite last night. Again, positive signs. We're just maybe missing that final piece in the final third. That will come. But again, positive signs for the Mariners. You look at the stats, and look, 8 shots for Mariners, 7 for Glory. Mariners, though, boss possession, 68% possession. From a Glory point of view, improvement, right? Improvement. I mean, Glory kept a clean sheet, which is huge for them. And I think they will build into a competitive team this season, Perth Glory. So there is signs that they are on the up, Perth Glory, after that devastating round 1 result. But look, Mariners, I will say, very happy that we did see sort of this back 5 formation, or it's more of a 3-4-3 formation with Tap, Caltac, Paul starting in this game. Obviously devastating that Brad Tap came off injured as well. Diesel Harrington came on and looked really, really solid, and I think he was great in the Asian Champions League elite game as well. But going forward, I mean, Kuol, Docker, Brantman, it feels like that perhaps Mark Jackson is still trying to find that right sort of attacking combo going forward, whether it is Edmondson or Kuol leading the line. Brantman has looked very bright. Obviously, we know what Docker can do as well. You've got Sabit Nyor, who provides a great amount of pace going forward, and he scored again in the Asian Champions League elite, as well as against Adelaide last week. And you've got a few players still out injured with the likes of Thea Harris and DePizio. So there's still some shuffling around to be done in sort of the attacking sort of half of the pitch, if you like, for the Mariners. But hey, 0 draw, 3 draws for the Mariners. As a Mariners fan, obviously disappointed. It feels like we could have won. Look, I'll take the draws. I feel like we could have won against Victory. I would have taken the draw away to Adelaide. That was a tricky game. We were sort of certainly on the back foot for the first half. This one's certainly disappointing that we didn't get the win. Of course, we have to talk about that incident towards the end. VAR ruling out that penalty. It was the 78th minute. It's a handball for me. I don't know if I'm being biased. But it was a handball for me. The on-field call was handball, and that is so important. All right, I'm a big believer that the on-field call should absolutely stand unless there's, as they say, it's a clear and obvious error. In my opinion, VAR should be something that we rarely see in football games unless the error is so clear and obvious. And there's no looking at the footage. There's no. It's not definitive to say that it absolutely didn't touch, his arm. Lewis Kunga was making the point that it sort of hit his elbow. I don't know, man. You can see how the arm. Well, it wasn't even that. I think the referee said it wasn't ruled out because it didn't hit. Because it didn't hit his arm. He ruled out because he said the arm was in a natural position. I believe, if I'm remembering that correctly. That's what the referee said in his announcement to the stadium. And I don't know, man. The arm is like swung right up. Yes, he's swinging it back to the body, but where the contact is made, his arm is out by his side. For me, it's a penalty. For me, it is absolutely a penalty. And we can't sort of. Obviously, Mariners, I think, should have won this game regardless of that incident. But it was a huge moment in this contest as well. Owen here in the live chat says, I've said it every week. Mariners are going to struggle to score this year. 2 games with no goals, and no goals against a poor Perth defense. Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's just a matter of time before the goals start to come for the Central Coast Mariners. We have the players. We still got a bunch of attacking players that we had from last season in Kuol, in Edmondson, Docker. When Thea Harris and DePizio come back, I think that's going to be a huge boost as well. I think that's going to be a huge boost. So look, we'll have to take another draw, Mariners, but hopefully the win does come for us. But again, from a Perth Glory point of view, they'll be very, very happy with that result, a clean sheet and a point, their first point of the season. Next up, let's touch on Western Sydney Wanderers and Adelaide United. 4-3. 4-3. A win for Adelaide here and another loss for Western Sydney Wanderers. There's so many things we can talk about in this game. We'd love to get your thoughts as well, but the big one is the Wanderers, and this is the big stat that's been going around, haven't won a home game since New Year's Day, which is just ridiculous for a club like Western Sydney Wanderers. That shouldn't happen. That should not happen. Consecutive home losses to start off this season, just 1 point to kick off the season. Western Sydney Wanderers, look, they weren't terrible in this game. And you look at the stats. I mean, 19 shots for Wanderers, 19 for Adelaide. Adelaide just had 1 extra shot on target, 8-7. Possession stats were actually just in favor of Wanderers as well. Pass accuracy was decent for both sides as well. But Western Sydney Wanderers, Alan Stajic has a huge test in the next few weeks. There's already pressure building on him. They've got a home game against Newcastle coming up. That's shaping up as a must-win game. They just have to win, just to sort of get the fans on board, because you can tell that they're losing some confidence in this team already just after 3 rounds. Tristan Vidakovic has made some fantastic saves for Wanderers in the few games he's played for them. He came in the Australia Cup and looked good. Made a great save in the Sydney derby, you might remember. he really, really struggled in this game. It was one of those games where it was just a really, really poor goalkeeping performance. And look, he's a young goalkeeper. He will learn from this. And again, he's got a bright future. He made some great saves in the last couple of games, but some of his errors cost Western Sydney Wanderers in this game, and that's just the reality. I don't think there's any debating that. Unfortunately, his errors cost Wanderers this game. A few of the goals weren't in because of Vidakovic, unfortunately. So look, had those goals not gone in, maybe Wanderers, would have won this game, maybe 3-2 on another day. Having said that, Adelaide were good in this game. Don't get me wrong. I thought the Reds were looking good once again. As we saw last week against Mariners, Adelaide started brightly. Fantastic goals in this game. Parias, what a hit. Fantastic goal from him. He grabbed 2 from right back as well. Jovanovic scoring in consecutive games. Ayubi chipping in as well. Look, they're still missing some players, Adelaide United. We shouldn't forget some defensive players still out, and Jordan Elsey and Bart Vreens still yet to come in. But this is a great start for Adelaide. 4 points already after 2 games. That's a positive start for them. And they've got West United at home next. They could make a really bright start to this season. That's for sure. Elizul says here, Western Sydney are an absolute shambles. They'll struggle to win games this season with Stajic at the helm. I personally still have faith in Stajic. And look, we shouldn't forget it is early days. So this season isn't a complete disaster for them yet. Obviously, we're only a few games in, but the wins have to come real soon. And I think it has to come this week against Jets. Just have to get a win on the board. If they go 4 games into this season without a win, it just feels like just more of the same from Western Sydney Wanderers, where they rebuild this team, they bring in a new coach, try to build excitement for the new season, and it just falls apart again. So they have to get a win. And especially, as we said before, haven't won a game since New Year's Day is just incredible. Just incredible. So look, again, Adelaide, fantastic in this game, the way they went on and managed to hold on there, especially considering that Wanderers were really pushing towards the end there. Barella scoring in the 75th minute. That final 15 minutes were nervy for Adelaide at the back. But credit to the Reds for holding on, and a bright start to this season for the Reds. So on Sunday, Arvo, we had a rematch of the Australia Cup final, Melbourne Victory, Macarthur FC. 2 teams who you felt like could have easily won on their day. Melbourne Victory, we know they were so impressive in the Melbourne Derby last week. Macarthur FC, we just saw them a couple of weeks ago, score 6 past Perth Glory. Obviously, Macarthur losing last week, though, against Newcastle Jets. They were hoping to bounce back in this game and were good, I thought, in this game for passages of play, defending pretty well for that first half and looked really dangerous on the counter-attack, as they always do, Macarthur FC, with Drew and Yakalish on the wings. And they did break the deadlock first, too. They scored early in that second half. It was the 51st minute. Valère-Germain, fantastic header after a fantastic cross from Marin Yakalish, who's just made an incredible start from the season. MFC Fan Hub here in the live chat says Macarthur can't keep throwing away these simple 3 points. It's a fair point, MFC. The fact that 2 consecutive weeks now, hey, they've lost from winning positions. It's the exact same thing that we saw last week. Yeah, exact same thing. How is Bratton doing? Asks Haley Geddits. I think he's been playing well. I think he's looked good so far, Luke Bratton. He's added a real sort of defensive, I guess, solidity to that midfield, if you like, sort of anchoring that midfield. I think that's really helped Macarthur so far this season, that's for sure. Owen here, who is also a Macarthur FC fan, says, we were so in control of this game, and then one simple mistake changed the momentum, and we switched off. Yeah, and when Melbourne Victory have talented players like Machash, like Veluplay, and of course, like Reno Piscopo, they're capable of turning a game around. And that's what they simply did in this game. Obviously, Arzani scoring from the penalty spot. Was it a penalty? For me, yes. Reno Piscopo, 75th minute, scoring an absolute banger from long range. Great goal, Reno Piscopo, who we know there's a Socceroos squad announcement coming up later this week. We'll be covering that on the YouTube channel for sure. Daniel Arzani was in this last squad. Daniel Arzani's been rocking on the bench for Melbourne Victory. Rene Piscopo has got a couple of consecutive starts and great performances in his last couple of games. I mean, could we see a surprise call-up for Rene Piscopo to the Socceroos? I don't know. You look at the similarities, right, to Daniel Arzani, and he came from Macarthur FC to Melbourne Victory a couple of years ago, had a really good season, and earned recall to the Socceroos. Potentially a similar road here for someone like Rene Piscopo, who obviously struggled with injuries at Newcastle Jets over the last couple of years, has come to Melbourne Victory, and again is already taking his game to the next level. And this is something that we said might happen, because even back to when he was playing at Wellington Phoenix a few years ago, Rene Piscopo, he scored some great goals for them. This is a guy who has a lot of potential and a lot of talent, a lot of great technical skill, and it's great to see him excelling at Melbourne Victory already. Yeah. So Melbourne Victory 2-1 in the end. Quick glance at the stats: 22 shots for Melbourne Victory, 7 on target. Macarthur with just 9 shots. Again, the counter attack is where Macarthur FC are deadly. But Melbourne Victory were just simply able to control pretty much most of this game, and were bombarding that Macarthur FC goal and did make the breakthrough in the end. Good result for Victory after, great start to the season, isn't it? That scoreless draw with 10 men against Mariners, the win in the Melbourne Derby, and then another 3 points here after trailing in that second half. A good result for Melbourne Victory. We're going to be live for the next 10 minutes or so here, and we've got one more game to talk about. We will also be jumping into our team of the week at the end of this stream as well. But our final game to chat about is Western United 0, Melbourne City 1. An interesting game because despite Melbourne City getting the 3 points, they weren't necessarily... It wasn't an incredible performance from Melbourne City. Look, in terms of the results, I think if you're a City fan, you're going to be very, very happy. Because obviously that disaster in the Melbourne Derby last week, they needed a response, and they got it. They got the 3 points, okay? That's the important thing. They got the 3 points, and after 3 games, I mean, City, 2 wins and 1 loss ain't bad at all. Looking at the stats for this game, 12 shots for Western, only 1 of those on target, which is not what you want to see from your shots. 11 shots, 4 on target for Melbourne City. Possession was just in favour of Melbourne City as well. Again, for the lineups, some chopping and changing for City. Andreas Kuhn came in, and I thought was very good in this game, playing in sort of that attacking midfield role. Politides was starting an advanced role. Interesting to see Nathaniel Atkinson was playing left back. Zane Schreiber into midfield. And with those injuries as well, we'll mention it right now. I mean, those injuries for City, real concern. Real concern as well. Andrew Naboot, Marco Tilio, both going off injured. 2 former Socceroos. Real blow for Melbourne City, considering they still have a really lengthy injury list. We know young striker Max Caputo is still out. They've got a bunch of young players, unfortunately, out with injury. Great to see Matt Leckie return. That's the one positive. But losing Tilio and Naboot, 2 players who have struggled with injuries over the last couple of years. Not good. Not good at all. Krasdog here in the live chat says, I think it's time John Aloisi is sacked. Well, I will say that off Western United's, if you look at their trajectory from the last couple of seasons, if they don't start winning games soon, I think they should move on from John Aloisi. Just based off, the trajectory of that club. If you think back to a few years ago, they won the championship. The next season, they finished like 8th. They just missed out on finals. I think it was around 8th or 7th. And then last year, obviously really, really struggling and finishing second last, and they easily could have picked up the spoon. And then, I mean, this season they've been okay. They've been all right. They were good passages from Western United in this game. Ibusuki always looking dangerous going forward as well. Dylan Leonard, shout out to Dylan Leonard, young defender who's looked very, very comfortable at the back in the A-League. He's looked good. But yeah, they're still just lacking that quality at the moment, Western United, to win games. You thought maybe the same thing was going to happen in this game. We saw Western United round 1 against Wellington, and then round 2 against Wanderers, conceding first, and then coming back in the second half, finishing brightly to equalise and grab a point. And we thought maybe the same thing was going to happen in this game, but City digging deep and holding on. Important 3 points for City, as we said. Western United, though, I mean, as Krasdog says here, is it time that John Aloisi gets the sack? Obviously, very early on in the season, so I don't think yet, but they need to start winning games soon. Otherwise, I think they need a change of head coach. Maybe give him till the end of this year, the end of December. And if Western United aren't, sitting at least mid-table, might be time for a new direction there at Western United. Great to chat all the A-League Round 3 action with you guys. We're going to live for a few more moments as we chat about our team of the week in just a moment. We've got some great comments and questions in the live chat here. Owen asks, do you think Marin Jakalic will get selected for the Socceroos? There are rumors he is on the list for Popper. Do I think he'll be selected for the Socceroos? I think there's a serious chance he does. I think there's a serious chance he does. I think if you look at the Socceroos squad and you think of sort of those wide players, obviously that's a real area of strength, I feel like, for the Socceroos. We've got a lot of good players in that area of the pitch. In the most recent squad, obviously, I don't think you'd see Goodwin or Aaron Kunda drop out. But there's other players there. You're looking at Valupale, Arzani, Silvera. Does Jakalic come in for one of those guys? Well, for me, he comes in for Arzani. That seems to be the obvious choice. But then the question then becomes, do you put in Marin Jakalic or do you put in Ren Episcopo, who's put in a couple of decent performances? I think you'd probably go Marin Jakalic. I think just he's been in better form for a little bit longer. Obviously, had a great run in the Australia Cup and a great start to this A-League season. So I would like to see Marin Jakalic in the Socceroos squad. I would. And that fantastic assist for the goal on the weekend as well. I mean, unbelievable for Marin Jakalic, that delivery as well. So he's a guy with fantastic ability. And I'd like to see him get a run for the Socceroos. I think that'd be great. Back to West United. A-League edits mentions here, Ibisuki needs better teammates around him. I mean, it's interesting when you look at the setup for West United. Look, maybe they are. I'll tell you what would have been really fun to see at West United, and it's a shame we're not getting it, is Daniel Pena playing with Ibisuki, Think back to a few years ago, Daniel Pena at Newcastle Jets and his combination with Becca Mikaldazzi and the way those two guys combined up top. How fun would it have been to see Daniel Pena teeing up Hiroshi Ibisuki? That would have been a crazy combination that would have brought goals galore for West United. Look, Danzaki, Grimaldi, two talented players who on the day can certainly perform in the A-League. You got two midfielders who started in this game in Thurgate and Bozanovsky, more, box-to-box midfielders. Ollie Laval has looked bright in their first three games as well, but whether maybe they drop him and bring in like a number 10, but, who comes in? That's the question. Remy Najarine is still out injured, so maybe he's the key for West United. But, maybe that is a fair point there. They get it. Another comment here coming in regards to that Socceroos squad. Again, we'll be covering the Socceroos squad later this week. Compact mentions here that with his performances recently, I truly think Ryan Teague deserves a call-up. That another player who I wouldn't be surprised to see added to the squad. Again, an area of the field where I feel like Socceroos have great depth. Obviously with Bacchus, O'Neill, Irvine, Luongo, right? Who's back in the fold. And then the guys who weren't even picked for the last soccer squad, someone like Max Ballard, who's been playing very well in the Netherlands. And then some people are even mentioning Nectar Triantis, who's been playing in defensive midfield for Hibs. So Ryan Teague is contesting with those guys, but the thing that maybe favors Teague, which you got to say has helped out the likes of Gary, Valupale, and Arzani, is that Melbourne victory connection. So I think there's a chance we might see it. I think there is a chance we might see it. Ryan Teague. Yeah, we're mentioning Jakalic before. Ryan Teague. Do we see them in the soccer squad? Yeah, I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised. If we look at that soccer squad coming out later this week and we see Ryan Teague's name there, I wouldn't be surprised. And I wouldn't be disappointed. I think he's a fantastic talent, Ryan Teague. That's for sure. Fantastic talent. As mentioned, we will be covering that soccer squad later this week. I remember hearing somewhere that it may well come out on Friday. So we'll certainly keep an eye out for that one as well. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in to this live round recap. A little bit shorter this week, but we'll be resuming our Sunday evening live recaps next week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to hit the like button on the way out. My name's Lockie. This is Coach Football, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.